I'm deeply involved with the people of Islam. I'm deeply involved in their culture. I have listened hours and hours and hours to them talking, which I find it interesting because Ishmael means God hears. And I find that the sons of Ishmael, the descendants of Ishmael, have a lot to say. That they're very, very, have a lot to say in their heart. And they're very rich and deep people. But listening has led me to hear even more of their cries because I understand the depravity of the culture, and this doesn't mean everybody. Many people in the culture and in the religion of Islam are not abused, are not molested, but many, many, many are. And we tend to focus on the women. But what I want to say to you today is that it is a culture of abuse. It is a strict religious regime of a merciless God that offers no way out, no forgiveness, no freedom of your sins, and it is very strict in every aspect. And what I found the most grievous, because we tend to focus on the women and they are abused, and it is more accepted to abuse women and to abuse your wife and to hit your wife and to hit your women, but the men are abused themselves, that when they're boys, they're beaten. There is an enormous amount of sexual abuse with the boys in Islam. In Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, it's well known. It's a well-known fact. I have known personally people who have suffered molestations, men to boys, in the Islamic culture. Why? Because the women are hard to get to. They protect the women, they protect the girls so that they can be married. It's a valuable thing. After they're married, go for it, abuse that woman altogether. But the boys are being severely, severely abused. A friend of mine, my son was having trouble in school, and a friend of mine who is from an Islamic background said to my son, well, how many times has your teacher beat you? And my son said, my teacher hasn't beat me. And my friend said, oh gosh, I got beaten all the time, except not as much as the other boys because my father was a little bit more of a threat. And he said if one boy was to be an example of, he was strung up in the middle of the schoolyard by his feet without his clothes and beaten with a whip or a rod in front of the other boys. And he would laugh as he said it. And when I think of the other comments I've had, it was more like, well, isn't this how everybody lives? I have a little baby, and a friend of mine who is from an Islamic country saw the baby making a mess with the food, and he said, wouldn't you beat the baby? I mean, he said in his culture they would beat the baby at that point. Now, this is not everybody, and it is changing somewhat because of Western influence. Now, Western influence is a lot of bad influence. I'm not advocating that Western influence is that good. Only the good influence is good from here. I mean, have you seen the tabloids in the 7-Eleven? It's disgusting what we think and we push as propaganda, and that's what we would love to bring down. I would love to be known as an intellectual. But I want to focus again on the boys themselves. So they're being beaten by their relatives in their home, by their fathers, by their uncles, grandfathers. One boy I know had his ear notched out just by an aunt because he was bothering her as a little boy. And I hear just horrific stories, and it breaks my heart. And then being molested by men. So by the time these boys have grown up into manhood, they have been shattered. They have been beaten. They may have been molested. They have been beaten openly. So you have a culture of people who are at distress. They have no peace. And then they're going to turn into abusive people. And this God in the Quran does not offer a way out. He does not offer the mercy and the freedom that Jesus offers. He claims to be a merciful God, but there is not one illustration of his mercy in the Quran. I've read the Quran,